found the Laid Off Lads podcast, where three average guys from Central Florida discuss anything but average topics and have all the time to do it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Laid Off Lads podcast, episode number 20. Interesting that we got a little bit delayed in this pod because of some Spectrum outage issues.
Not mine.
Not mine, yeah, no. It was Mr. Edward Snowden Ngari over here looking like with the white hood on and and American hat wearing Christopher Boyce.
Dude,
whoa, language.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. We're going out.
Come on.
Don't forget LeBron.
Yeah. Here you go.
LeBron, Spectrum. We're making t-shirts. LeBron, Spectrum.
And one other name, but that'll be beeped out.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's true. How you gents doing today?
Oh, I was going to yell it.
No,
I can't. Okay.
You know what I thought about last time?
What'd you think
what
about last time?
I think Phil's going to be the big box in this YouTube video since he made the first noise. So I want to start just doing this when we're talking.
No, it'd
Like
be the other
Brady
way,
Bunch. Just looking to the left or right, knowing that you're here. Phil's here. Just start talking to each other that way, directionally. Yeah, right, Phil. Oh,
Yeah, right down. Yeah, that would be weird.
it would be. It'd be funny if you're watching it and you got it right. You got the directions right of who is in which box, and you just sort of started talking like that. It would look interesting, I think, to at least give it a shot.
Yeah, but the problem is for those of you out there that don't know, we record this via Skype. We record it via Skype because it's always been like a phone based first, so the audio quality is better. But what Skype does, unlike Zoom, where it like Zoom puts you in three of the same like similar boxes, Skype, if there's three, there's an odd number. It like designates one person to be in the big box, and we haven't quite figured out why that's the case. We believe it's because whenever we hit record, it's the first person that makes a noise or says anything. Mm-hmm. We don't know that for a complete fact.
We'll have to do some research on that.
It's proven itself the past couple times, though.
It has. Yeah, it has.
I think that's the key. He who speaks first gets the biggest box.
Words to live by.
That's what she said.
Boys, this is a date to pin on the old calendar for you.
It's a monumental day.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 year to the day.
Now what
I was laid off.
Oh,
Where's my anniversary pin? 1 year.
There it is.
There it is.
He gone.
1 year. Oh, that'd be fucking great. Can you imagine that?
He gone.
A 1 year pin is a middle finger.
Yeah.
1 year.
Very well.
That's fantastic. That's
it might be in the mail. You don't know.
That's awesome.
It might be in the mail.
A year to the day. Because you were the first of us, right?
Yep. I was the first group. Round one.
First group.
Yeah.
How did talk us through the events of that day?
I was putting together a giant list of COVID supplies to buy because I was sort of the COVID person in terms of purchasing all the supplies for everybody. So I have my laptop and I'm just on every website imaginable. Up late the night before because you got a little time to do it. You're trying to open things up, and so there's an urgency behind it. So I was purchasing all day and all night. So I'm sitting there. I got a text that morning. Said, "Hey, are you free for a phone call?" And I said, "Sure." Text back, "Sure." Called the number because I'm like, well, let's just get this call over with to see what's going on. I'm busy. And I got a text back saying, "No, I'll call you." Then I got the phone call. And man, you want to talk about your heart stopping. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy because you got a wife, you got kids, you've got 27 years invested in it, a mortgage, and all these responsibilities in your life. And I've dabbled with that thought for years and years and years going, what if? What if I'm laid off? What if whatever happens? What do I do? And it's one of those things where you have this sense of panic of going, what would I do? So I get the call and I was speechless. It was sort of that, hey, known each other for a long time. This is sort of what's the situation is, what's happening. And you get it. I've been around long enough. Totally get it. Felt horrible for the person because the relationships you build over those years and having been on that side of it myself, having to lay people off, it sucks. So I knew that it was difficult for the person conveying the message as much as it was for me to take it. But I was just, for the first time, speechless, and passed over to the HR person and went over all the details and the logistics and here's what happens next, and did a great job walking through all that. And yeah, but they're asking you these questions and you're just like, you can't formulate words because all you've ever known has been taken away.
It's true. You go to the same place every single day.
Every single day since I was 18 years old. I was a kid just out of high school. And knowing that that's all you've ever walked into, aside from being a Zamboni driver at the ice rink prior to that, which is a
brilliant job, by the way.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a shock. And you're just speechless. And you're getting fed tons of information about here's a date for this, here's this service, here's what's going to happen. And you're just trying to jot it down while your mind is just numb and exploding at the same time. Mm-hmm. But then they tell you what your severance package is for being there for 27 years. And you're like, oh, all right, peace out, bitches.
Vacation.
I've actually, knowing what the severance calculation is, I've actually gone through that exercise in my brain for the past several years going, well, if I were to be laid off now, this is the situation I'd be in. And a lot of times I was just like, I'd take that. So
at least you planned for it.
Yeah, often.
You weren't completely immune to the thought that was going to happen.
Yeah. After
that's it didn't come
any
as
length of
complete
time in a
sideswipe.
place. Yeah. I was burned out. So
like, what did you do as soon as you got off that phone call?
I just sat there and stared blankly into the void of space for probably a good 10 minutes.
Did you get mad that you weren't told in person that it was through the phone?
No, I didn't have time to process any of that stuff. I know there's, again, having been through it on the other side of it, knowing that there's just tight time windows and an order in which you've got to tell people to make sure these people know before these people. It's a plan. There's a playbook for it. And you got to execute the playbook a certain way. So I understood that. I didn't even think about it until people started telling me afterwards going, damn, you didn't even get a face-to-face after all those years. And
I think I was probably one of the first ones that said that to you.
Yeah. I was supposed to work that day. I decided to take the day off because I worked like 18 hours a day before. I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm burned out. I'm going to do all the work from home today. So I should have been there. But I'm glad I wasn't because I don't know. There's a part of you that thinks, I don't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me in just total shock mode, but nobody's getting satisfaction out of that. I don't want to have to look those people in the eye.
They are callous motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But who was the first person that reached out to you after you got laid off that you were like, damn, how did you know?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You told us back then, there are an immediate group of friends. Yeah. And your wife and so on and so forth, I'm sure. But who was that person that reached out to you, hours afterwards or the day after? You're like, wait, how did you find out? Because most people, when they get laid off, don't immediately go to social media or text everybody they know and say, hey, my day sucked. I just got laid off from a job that I was at for 20 some years.
Yeah, I think the majority of the people who first started texting were saying, hey, have you heard what's happening? So they didn't know I was a part of it. They were just going,
this is kind of funny in a way.
Going down. What do you know? Anybody. Yeah, they just want to know what I knew and
for it. But
yeah. But a friend of mine worked with her for years, Michelle Claremont, was one of the few people who I continue to stay in contact with. Like we were like the OG group, like the first group of the laid off. And a small part of that group sort of just kept in touch saying to help each other navigate through that process. And she was one of those people who she and I would email each other all the time saying, hey, this is how you do the unemployment thing. This is how you do this. How you doing with your resume? And throwing resumes back and forth to sort of proofread them and get ideas. And that kind of support is huge. But yeah.
Interesting. Did you ever like wake up or have dreams or like panic modes of, oh, I gotta be at work today, or I think I need because you're in a routine for 20 some years, like the panic mode of 3 days after you wake up in a cold sweat going, I missed my alarm, I gotta be at work. But no, actually
every night Every night I dream I'm at work in various situations, managing certain situations, certain people. It's like I'm reliving sort of scenarios and situations at work. Not that necessarily happened, but would happen or maybe have happened in little twists of them all melded together. But my daughter said, dude, you might need to go to therapy for this. She's like, you need to maybe go to the parks and just like come to grips with it, come to terms with it. Cause I don't think you've dealt with this yet.
We all do. I think we all
been to the
go to
park.
I
the
never
park
went to
and
the
just
parks
get-
even when I was employed there.
That's
well,
true.
same. I mean, very rarely, unless it's like an occasion, but I feel like we as a group, and I mean like our poker group needs to go there and just drink our asses off, flick off buildings that we need to flick off.
And Wasserman
Oh,
statue.
No, I'm kidding.
We don't need to.
You stared at me for 7 damn years. I don't like you.
Yeah, we don't need to.
I probably need to do that.
Big ass shark hanging from a thing. You.
Like, have any of you been back since being laid off? I haven't.
been in that area. I haven't been within like a 5 mile radius of that place since then.
I went a few times after the time that we were, because for those of you that don't know, when you're laid off, it's not like there's a statute of limitations. In other words, that you have that the company has to adhere by. They have to, it's like a state run or a national run thing. They have to give you a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I do respect a hell of a lot from the company that we used to work for was it was people that got laid off with tenured years of service for the most part that were given ample amount of time. So I think we got 90 days before we were even laid off. We were told 90 days out, essentially.
60 days.
60 days. 60, 90, 30, 70, 30% of the time, every time, right?
60.
Same. So, but where I'm going with that is an hourly team member, unlike all of us that were salary, would get 30 days, boom, done. No severance. Maybe a vacation cashed out, done. So I do respect that a lot from the company that we work for, that it was not putting people out fast and hard. It was slow and hurtful. No, I'm kidding. No, but I do think that plays into it, because when like going back to going to the parks, when I got told 60 days, we still got paychecks for that 60 days. Now, some people in creative and some other things still had to work up throughout that 60 days. We I don't think anybody in the parks, from my understanding, were told they had to work. This is obviously a very big news that you were just told. Take that time to yourself, start working on a resume, start doing this, start doing that. And then when 60 days come around, this is when you have to sign this, or not have to, but this is when this paperwork has to be turned in order for the layoff to go through, and severance and yada, 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 yada. So we still had our passes, so we could go to the parks and do whatever. As you both know, I'm a big Potter fan, so that kind of shares where the hell we worked, but at this point, I don't think it's a complete secret. So I want to go back. I worked in both lands. I opened up one of the lands. I have a great admiration for those lands and the people in those lands that bring them to life and the lore of it all. And I wanted to go back. I wanted to have a butterbeer. I wanted
Now
to
you have
just
diabetes.
relax. And like, you walk through those lands and you're so worried about, okay, is this person doing that? Is this person wearing that? Just go back and just sit there and just enjoy that space for a bit. And that I did that twice. And
I think I'm going to make a sound clip. I'm making a sound clip of you just saying, I just wanted some butterbeer. That's going to be your new text tone.
Love a good butterbeer.
That would be the craziest part for me, is going in and being in a management capacity all those years, to walk in and just not give a let me sit on a park bench in the middle of these, like, because I went to the park so little. I mean, maybe once or twice over the course of the past 10 years as a guest, never ever did it. So the thought of just sitting on a park bench or just grabbing a beer would just be such a foreign concept to me. It'd be interesting to do. It probably needs to be done.
What's the one thing you miss most, though?
The people.
Yeah, the people, man.
I could say people. Some people.
And we worked in the
that's with
place that
everybody,
everybody wanted to be.
Correct.
People who worked in other divisions and other areas, entertainment was the place that we got the most shit because of, all the perceptions of entertainers and actors and everybody's view of them from the outside. But at the same time, people who came here from other areas are like, holy shit, you can't go anywhere else. Once you're in entertainment,
correct.
to say I'm going to go to attractions, I'm going to go to park services, no one ever makes that jump. Everybody makes a jump to entertainment.
Yeah, it's such a vibrant, talented, loving group that it is so different. It's you work in that entertainment field. It's different. It's very different for anybody that hasn't worked in that. That's worked in a culture attraction job or a banking job or your 9-to-5 job. It is different.
The only place you have to be 18 to work.
Exactly. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a culture shock, but it's a good eye-opening culture shock. I mean, you meet some of the kindest, just most generous, talented people I've ever had the pleasure of working with.
100%.
And I won't take anything away from the people that I got to work with, but I mean, I honestly miss the most discounted Starbucks.
Oh, 110%. God,
I love the people.
Every time I'm like, holy, this is how much an iced caramel macchiato upside down cost.
How does that translate?
That becomes $6 for a venti. I was paying for something in the parks.
Yeah, dude. Like a good 1/8 of my severance went to Starbucks.
Yeah.
The amount of times I was there, it was almost daily. They're
You're
looking
not
for
lying
jobs.
with that. It's a very good point.
Lying, God, Starbucks. Sorry.
I keep thinking about going back to the Bougie Grill, the on-site place we had that the public can go to. To get another one of Ron's salads.
That's true. Boyce and I made it like a weekly tradition to go there and just enjoy a Ron salad and just sit and talk sports or life or work or whatever. And there were some times that we went there that, I mean, looking up to Boyce, that he helped me through some tough decisions and played kind of devil advocate on certain things and gave me advice and kind of helped me talk through things. That's the type of relationships that we're talking about. There is now not everything's going to be that deep on certain levels, but you build a relationship with all the people there. And that's the thing that I think everybody, at least us three, can say we miss a lot from that era, from those several years of being in a
Except for Phil.
Job. He's just a hateful man.
Phil.
God. I want to say his name.
That's great.
Now they're obviously, I mean, when you work in a corporate 500 job, you work in a big business, corporate fortune. Is that what you said?
Fortune.
500.
Look at that beer pour. Welcome to being laid off right there. That's too much foam.
Terrible pour.
That is a lot of foam. Good Lord.
All right, don't apply at our brewery.
Perfect.
No, but when you work for a Fortune, right? Fortune?
Yeah, Fortune 500.
Fortune 500.
Shows you how much I know. You work in a corporate environment. If everybody worked in a corporate environment, there's everybody says there's politics and games to be played. Anybody that ever asked that or wanted to know if that's the case, 100% that's the case. That is absolutely the case. I'm sure just like any company, any Fortune 500 corporate environment, that's the case. However, it's how you play the game. Do you play it dirty? Do you throw people under the bus? Do you name drop? Do you put names under the bus? Do you go behind people's back? Do you stab them? Are you not friends? Are you this, that, and the other? Like that's the struggle of working with some people that maybe you don't get along with.
I got a new puzzle today.
Phil wants to change the topic so bad.
Oh, it's great.
I know.
Great. I'm like, oh, here goes Ferris. He's opening the door. Phil's like the rabid dog who wants to break it down, but he knows.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could name drop.
But that's a reality.
Countless people. But I got a new puzzle today. And I would like to talk about it.
How many pieces
from
is it?
here, this is not our sponsor, but I do have an advertisement here. It's called the $1 Million Puzzle. Here it
Keep
is.
the filter off. Nobody can see it right now.
Nobody can see it.
It's not working.
Okay, well, let me turn my background off.
Yeah.
Excuse me for wanting to promote laid off lads.
You promote Boyce and Phil. You've been blocking me the entire time. Thank you. Your head is literally right the entire time.
Get your head out of the way. What would you like me to change it to?
Just nothing, because it's gonna just nothing. That's how you
It's
can
like
show
that green screen effect isn't clear cut.
Right.
Like your head disappears and there it is.
But you're not gonna be able to show the puzzle.
Okay, so you know what? We're not going to do a background. We're just going to turn it off.
It's literally what I've been saying for the past minute.
Thank you for your feedback. I am applying it as we speak, and we're back. Okay, so anyways, I have a puzzle.
There you go.
So this little sucker here, it's $30.
How many pieces?
500.
That's weak.
But I'm a puzzle guy. Like I'm someone who wakes up. I do my morning like crossword. I like.
Oh, you do not? Do you really do a crossword in the morning?
I do my crossword in the morning. Yes, that's something.
God,
that
you're a 7-year-old man in a 1-year-old body.
I'm not even there.
If I had the paper delivered to me, I'm the first one to like go to the game section. And I was at some, not like an IHOP, but it was like a breakfast diner, and they had like a 20-minute wait. And there was a Orlando Sentinel just sitting right there, and I just looked at it, and like I saw the corner of the game page, and I was like, "Yep, 20-minute wait will be fine." Just spent that 20 minutes just figuring out all the puzzles. I love puzzles. So anyways, this puzzle, it costs $30, but
Why?
It's one of those, it's one that creates a QR code. And then once you like complete the puzzle, you scan the QR code and it could bring some monetary value ranging from 25 cents to $1 million.
So you spent $30. Odds are you're going to get a 25-cent QR code.
100%.
$30.25 on a 500-piece puzzle that you can probably get at Marshall's for $10.
Absolutely, but it's not a picture of a unicorn that I would get at Marshall's. This one is a QR code that could have monetary value.
I don't want Harry Potter ones there.
You spent like $20 on a piece of paper that you take a coin and you scratch off. So it's the same concept.
Scratch offs. It's gambling. Yeah.
That's a fucking same thing.
Language.
Except I just have to put my puzzle mind to it. So it's, if anything, it's a creative activity that boosts my IQ, and we're good. And it could have monetary value to it.
Yes, Phil. I don't know.
And there's
honestly, I've seen and heard of that. That is cool. That's a fun thing to get in the mail.
It's fun to get in the mail. Well,
do you know what I got in the mail today?
What?
You know what I got in the mail today?
Nudie magazine?
Jury duty.
No. Damn. Hopefully the government has no clue where I now live. And nudie magazines have gone out of fashion years ago. And so it's all internet now. Anyways.
Wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That's, because you do crosswords at a diner at 7 a.m.
You know what?
Moon's over Miami, bitches. Moon's over Miami.
Love that. Yes.
At least I'm not actually writing poetry.
That's true. I got my soundbar in today.
I would have given you mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with the
soundbar,
subwoofer and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never use it. It's one of those things where you're like, it really sound cool. I got 3D sound. But then you do it and you're like, all right, whatever. And you turn your TV on, you're like, TV sound is ample. Why do I need to boost this shit up?
What kind of
I've had it for years and I've never used it. It's like a Sony or something.
Is it a... I'll
have to look at it. It's mounted on my wall. I'll see what it is.
Mounted, so you still have it?
Yeah, it's on my wall, but we never use it. It's got a subwoofer. It's all Bluetooth and shit. It's easy, simple setup, but I never use it.
I just wasted $160 for you to tell me that you could give me yours.
It would kind of suck though, because if I took it off my wall, I've got the two mounting things in there. It's just for show now.
I got $20 off though because of Amazon Prime days. I waited.
Yeah, those Prime days are no joke, dude.
Yeah.
Like I wanted a Roomba. I need a Roomba to
love a good
go
Roomba
around my house, and it was like
you don't
$150 off.
That thing would scare you.
What would scare me? A Roomba?
Yeah, because when it goes off, when you're not intending it to go off, you freak out for a second. You're like, why is this thing going off? I never said it, and the app's telling me it's not going off.
No, that's fine with me. What creeps me out is a creepy little girl voice talking to me in your apartment. That's what freaks me the hell out. No, not allegedly. You know damn well that happened.
Share the story. Share the story. I don't know if Boyce has heard this story.
Nope.
You haven't heard this?
No.
Go ahead, share the story.
Oh, dude. So what? This was a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
couple weeks ago. This is like right before we were about to go do that gig at the Gaylords, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I went over to his place.
I live like 10 minutes from there.
Yeah, to Ferris's place, and figured out I'd get ready over there. I was just coming back from Tampa, and just to kill some time, he and I were just playing FIFA. And as we're playing, I hear a voice, clear as day, a girl's voice. No clue like what was said. I can't remember, but clear as day, about 5 feet from me.
Over your right shoulder.
Just a voice over my right shoulder.
Well, there's nothing there but a wall.
I immediately stop and I look over. There's nothing in there. It's just his bar and his refrigerator.
What did the voice say?
Nothing. I can't. I don't know what it said,
yeah,
but it was a voice clear as day. Ferris looks at me, thinks it's my phone, and he just sees a look at my face, and I'm like,
"So you both heard it?"
I was like, we both just heard that, right?
And I was like,
"Oh,
what the
wow.
fuck was that?"
I'm almost positive it was a disembodied voice.
Dude.
Because when I moved in, I got this place for a pretty good price. Phil, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you did. You absolutely did.
I'm now wondering if some happened
You
because
should ask.
I have not had any issues though. I have not had any. I hear things sometimes. I'm in bed and stuff, but the windows and walls are very thin, so I can hear stuff. I'm on the third floor. I could hear stuff in like the parking lot area that I just think's like, oh, it sounds like it's like right outside my window, but I'm like, it's not possible because I'm on the third floor. So it's look out and it's something from downstairs. But when we heard that, it wasn't anything from the game. I don't have surround sound. It's literally over my left shoulder. That's the wall. So like the couch is right by that lamp. That's where he was at. There's nothing there besides, here, move out of the way.
Yeah.
That's it. A lamp, my bar, nothing. And when he turned to me, I heard it, but I didn't think a whole lot of it. But then when I saw his face, I was like, oh, you heard it too. And you're like, Phil's.
I do not do that.
Out with this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, that was weird.
Yeah.
And I just kind of go through my head of all the things that it possibly could have been. So my first thought was, it's his phone. Like he put his phone on the, you can see, but on like the armrest of the couch or on like the end table. And his phone thought we said, "Hey Siri," or something to that, effect. And the phone responded. His phone was in his lap. That voice clearly came over his right shoulder. That I know that so specifically, and he knows that.
God.
And there is nothing. Now, mind you, I've lived here for 2 months now. I have not heard my neighbors whatsoever. Like the walls are actually fairly good.
Yeah, but it was not a muffled voice.
It wasn't a muffled voice.
Even if your window was open, it was clear as day, like 5 foot from my ear. It was a voice, and I did not want to be there anymore.
Like a mumble or
no? It was a clear as day.
Distinguish what the words were though.
There was no.
Remember.
Yeah, you couldn't. But it was a female voice. You could tell by the tone and the inflection in the voice. Hey, the Bolt score. Whew, 1-0. Point. Sorry. And it wasn't the game we were playing. The game we were playing actually took a little bit of a pause because it went into start the game. So there was no music that could have like possibly reverberated off of the walls and ended up behind us. So again, I don't have surround sound. So it wouldn't have sounded like it was distinctly over like behind us.
Yeah.
But it was a female voice. It was very
Older?
short and quick. It didn't sound old. It sounded, I don't want to say it sounded like a child because that probably freaked Phil out even more. But it was.
If you were to try to like mimic it,
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out if you didn't hear actual words and you knew his woman's voice, was it was it gibberish or was it just
it was not gibberish. I don't know what it was. It was just a girl's voice.
It was like hearing girls over talk, but hearing one girl tell another girl a story in a short snippet as you like walk by. It's like the best way that I can describe it. enough to where you walk by and you hear somebody saying a story. You kind of like what the hell did they just say?
Yeah,
it was one of those because it was in the room with us.
that
So
I would have left.
And
was
I wanted
freaking
to.
out.
I had goosebumps for a
I
solid
was
15
smiling.
minutes
I
for
was
the
like,
remainder I was
wow, this
there.
is crazy.
I didn't want to go back over there. And he's the one who had to walk around the room. He's like, dude, look, there's nothing here. There's nothing here.
Well, because he kept thinking I had like a Bluetooth speaker and I was playing some like
I thought he was f***ing with me.
my Bluetooth speaker is on my kitchen like island bar the opposite way.
I would call
to the left.
the office tomorrow if it were me, just for the pure sake of curiosity, going, hey, has anything weird ever happened in this place? Or has anyone ever talked about weird things happening? Just to see what their face and the response is.
Well,
Not the bitch
prior
complain or
to
saying I
that,
want anything. I'm just curious. I have to know.
the day prior to that, and why it freaked me the hell out was because I went to Tampa. What happened to his audio? Ferris, you're muted.
No, I'm not.
Ah, okay, you're back. Okay, so
I was
anyways,
just talking very, very quiet. I'm saying it's his fault. But
gotcha.
sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, I went to Tampa that weekend, and I went to the Tampa University of Tampa. Somewhat. It used to be like a one of the oldest schools, and now it's like a museum. So went in there, has like the world's oldest or the United States world's first elevator, and cool, check that out. I didn't want to go in it for obvious reasons, but you go down these hallways, and it's just nobody's there. It's just filled with emptiness, and on the walls are just old pictures of like how life used to be there, and like old photographs of like exactly where you're standing, and the typical like black and white pictures of it's just eerie and creepy. And I just got the creeps, dude. I got the absolute creeps. Hated it. So left there, and I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. That night, I had suffered from sleep paralysis as a kid, just getting, like
That's fucking scary.
That's the worst. Yeah.
I've never had it, but the thought of it and the stories I hear, that
terrifying.
I think we've
I can't
talked about
imagine.
this before, but yeah, to where you're just laying in bed.
Yep.
Your mind is awake, but your body is asleep.
God, I would lose it.
And you're just laying there. So this happened to me that night. And as you're laying there, a figure gets closer and closer and closer.
Yep.
It's just
I had the exact
hooded
same
figure.
thing. And it was
Really?
like
You can't
for me,
move.
no, for me, yeah, exactly what Phil's saying. You can't move, but I would always wake up in some sort of a panic. Like my body would be like convulsing, and I'd be like breathing heavy, like, and then you just wake up in like a cold sweat.
Yeah.
Because exactly how he describes it, there's this, you're laying in bed, you feel like you're trapped. Somebody's like broken into your house, and you want to get up and move, and your body's telling you to get up and move, but you can't. And that's where like the paralysis comes in.
Heard
And
so many stories
then
like
you
that.
just see this figure moving closer, and then right before it gets to you, you wake up. Yeah, I've had the exact same thing, man.
I've
The only
known a
thing I
lot of
can
people
ever
who've had it.
move.
They say a prayer. If you know a biblical verse, or if you know some sort of prayer or whatever, I know people have had the same thing, and they say memorize a biblical verse or like a verse from a song or whatever that's biblical, and say it, and boom, you wake up and you're out of it. Like, that's interesting.
I'll try
But
that
I've
next
never
time.
had that.
I mean, my biblical verse that I've tried using is "Get the f away from me." That's pretty much the only thing I've sold it.
Never
The
been in
only
any
thing I can
scriptures
move is like,
according
no, don't quote me on that.
Smith Wesson 15 verse 7
The
through
only
6.
thing I can ever move is my pinky in that situation. Like,
That's crazy.
it sucks. So I can barely control my body. So
But you're
anyways, woke
awake.
up with that.
Like when
But
you
I'm awake. Yes, I am awake. Like my mind is awake, but my body's asleep. And then after that,
Eyes closed, like you're, yeah.
it's
It's like a bad nightmare that feels very, very real.
it's
how
terrible.
often does it happen to you guys?
I haven't had that.
I haven't had it in a
close
while.
to probably close to five, anywhere from 5 to 7 years. It's been a long time. So
I haven't
when you
had it, one of my ex-girlfriends years ago was kind of like freaked out by it because didn't know what was happening, and I woke up and I was like, no, it's fine. Like it's okay. It's just it's like a bad dream essentially. You feel
It
weird
causes
as an adult saying that, but it's the case. Like I haven't had one in forever either. But
So anyways, when you add up all of those pieces of Phil goes to creepy museum, Phil experiences something he hasn't experienced in 5 to 7 years. Then I go to Ferris's house the next day.
No. Phil brought it into my house.
Allegedly.
No.
Hold on.
There's two things there that you said could lead up to this, both involving you, nothing to do with me, and you bring it into my house.
Wait, you're saying something happened before this thing at Ferris's house?
Ain't coming to my house.
I'm telling you, that was a day prior.
Right. You brought it into my house. Whatever you did in the elevator with the creepy pictures in the hallway attached itself to you. Sleep paralysis. Wake up the next day. Come to my house. It's still attached to you. You bring that into my house.
That all happened the day before this?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
he brought it into my house.
Jeez.
And it stayed there. So thank you.
I have not had anything.
So it's tied to Phil. It's not Ferris's apartment that's f***ed up. It's Phil that has this thing following him.
Because it was over his right shoulder, not mine.
Well,
it was over your right shoulder.
It was over my right shoulder, correct.
Right. It's closer to you on your side of the couch, not my side of the couch.
I'm perfect. But funny enough, like when we went to, like that night we went to Tin Roof, Ferris and another friend, and then that next morning, we had discussed it with that friend that night, this whole scenario situation. She ends up texting me a video that next morning of her dog just barking at nothingness in the wall. Or
that's
like
the key.
Wall.
That's the one thing. Once animals start doing that, that's when you know it's real.
My response was, "Thank you."
You passed it on to her
now.
that night.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Yours now. Thank you.
Man. Yeah, I've been very fortunate not to have experienced that. Sleep paralysis, man. The stories I've heard, I'm like, dude, there's no way.
I've seen some, like, not seen, but like I experienced some stuff in the house that I was in prior to this that was like, that's questionable.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I've never heard a disembodied voice. Look it up, Google it. It's a real fucking thing. I'm not making that up. I'm almost positive that's what we heard. After like deductively reasoning everything down the chain, I'm almost positive that's what it was. And Phil brought it into my house.
Which is worse? Allegedly. Having the sleep paralysis with a demon over you or hearing the disembodied voice?
The sleep paralysis. You for me, you are terrified in that moment. You feel helpless. You feel scared. You feel anxiety. Like when I tell you, when I woke up that one time and I was like X ago, but she was nervous because she thought I was like having a seizure or something. Like my body was saying move. Your brain's, or I don't know, however it works, you're trying to move and get away from this person, but it's paralysis, so you can't actually move. You're just stuck there, and your body's just like shaking. And my breathing was, it's weird to like, I don't know, say this, but like your breathing is, you're like trying to huff and puff your way out of it. You're like, but you're asleep. So like that would freak anybody out that's sleeping in next to you. That's at least happened to me.
Yeah. If there was no presence or figure attached to this scenario, I don't think it would be as bad because you can justify and rationalize it as your body being in like a state of REM, because you're essentially, when you're in REM mode for dreaming, you're paralyzed. So your muscles don't move when you're in REM mode. So scientifically, you could justify the whole sleep paralysis. I'm awake, but I'm frozen. That makes sense. But everybody experiences this figure or this presence along with it. A lot of people do, yeah. That's the line where it goes from, all right, that is understandable, to what the is happening.
But that many people do. God. Like, is it, I mean, in all honesty, is it the other world or the other side trying to communicate something to you?
Have you guys looked this stuff up after you experienced it?
Harm? Does it not? Like, because you never get to the point where you figure out if it like chops off your head or shoots you. Like you never get to that point, because you always, like, or at least for me, I've always woken up from it in like a panic mode, but you never, it's like to be continued. You don't know what's happening.
Are there features to it, or is it just like a black shadow?
Just a dark figure.
I'm trying to find an article which can kind of explain it a little bit better.
Slender Man.
Nah, dude,
I could tell you, I'm probably more of a skeptic than I am everything, but if you don't think that stuff's real and you don't think like the Lorraine and what's the Conjuring, those two that are in that it's like the life stories essentially of what are their names? Lorraine and something Bobbitt. Lorraine Warren and Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were essentially the most well-known demon hunters. Essentially, that's what The Conjuring is based off of. They come in, they figure out Lorraine had this sixth sense in a way to see evil.
Jeez. But
see evil that you can't see. And Ed was a priest or a minister or something to that extent. And it's, there's documentaries out there on it. There's all these things. And it was like from between like the 50s and 70s that they were the most famous, and they got called in to do these paranormal investigations into stuff. And it's stuff that you can't, it's real. Like
I don't even watch horror movies, man, because I don't want to invite that in my life. I don't watch horror movies.
Love them, but I have a hard time watching them by myself.
Yeah.
Like if you told me like when we're done with this pod and about an hour from now, I'll sit here and watch a scary movie with the lights off in my place. Oh, no way. I ain't doing it.
Sick.
I don't watch them at all. I couldn't tell you the last horror movie I've watched. I just stay away.
But there's real. I mean, it's real. There's things that you can't explain. There's something. There's
I've known a surprising amount of people who have had that experience.
Yeah.
And the more and more I hear, it's been a while since anyone's told me they have, but the more you hear about it, like, dude, it's something. I don't know what it is or what you call it, but it's for real.
There's a show that I know I've said on this pod before that I love. Paranormal Caught on Camera. It's on the Travel Channel, and the reason I love it is because there's no way to stage these certain things. You have a panel of these paranormal experts that do their own investigations, this, that, and the other, but they take videos that people either send into them or on the web. And you cannot sit there and tell me that every one of these people does this to set up a certain reaction or that it's a production put in. There are things that we literally can't explain in this world. And what it does is essentially it's a caught on camera type show, but for paranormal, you're like, it question you. I don't want to say you fully believe all of this stuff, but you question it. You're like, hey, now in my mind, I've deductive reasoned X, Y, and Z, but that still happened. And that shouldn't, because I just crossed all these things off as, it's good. But
have you ever had
definitely happened.
Crazy dream? Have you ever had the head explosion?
No.
Where you're it's like you're in between I'm about in full on deep sleep mode. The in between area where like I just fell asleep. I'm pretty much asleep, but I'm not in the deepest of it. You get into this place and all of a sudden there's a bang. Like somebody shot a gun next to your head. You see the flash, like when your eyes are closed and you see a camera flash, you can still see it, but your eyes are closed. Like it's there. And there's a loud bang, and you just shoot up. You're like, what the f***? It sounds like somebody shot a gun next to your head. It's called, I think it's called head explosions.
Wow.
I Googled it.
Never heard of that.
Weird thing where people in this.
That's the Big Bang Theory. They made a TV show on it.
Love that show, by the way.
All about
Love
that
show.
But it's crazy, man. And when it happens, you can't go back to sleep because you're terrified. Once you start to fall asleep, it'll happen again.
I have that kind of.
Here we go. Exploding head syndrome.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Is an abnormal sensory perception during sleep in which a person experiences unreal noises that are loud and of short duration when falling asleep or waking up. The noise may be frightening, typically occurs only occasionally, and is not serious health concern. Now, according to that, I've had that. Because how many times do you startle yourself awake from a nap or when you first start to like doze off?
Right,
but it's an actual bang.
Yeah, it's an actual
I get
bang
that too.
But for me, I've never had like a dream of it. Or
It's like somebody is. That's the only way to describe it. Somebody's either popped a balloon next to your head or shot a gun, because there's a visual aspect to it too. When it happens, at least to me, it's happened about a half a dozen times. There's a visual
loud explosion like noise if you're drifting off to sleep. Yeah. That's what it's saying online. Yeah,
and that's why I felt like I tell my mom this all the time. I'm like, I'm dying at 35, and it's because of that same scenario, because I have that all the time, to where I don't know if I'm driving or flying or something like that, but I'm in my dream. I'm just like sitting down somewhere, like I feel myself. It's no visual or anything, just sitting down, and I feel like my age, but then there's also just a loud crash, and I never get to see like what happens. It's a loud crash, and I just wake up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand it. But it's the same reoccurring, like, stupid fucking dream.
Reoccurring dreams are interesting, because there's got to be something behind it. Like, why is it always this? Why am I always here?
Oh, this is according to WebMD. Sleep paralysis, demon in the bedroom. that's WebMD. So the article starts off by saying the woman was in her late 50s. Every night she would fall asleep and then dream that she was unable to move, but that her husband was coming into the room and trying to attack her. Helpless, she could neither move nor cry out. This went for several years from the MD that said it. I'm going to try to pronounce her name. Very difficult. She was exhausted. It turns out the woman had a sleep disorder called sleep paralysis, which we were just chatting about. When a person is asleep but immobilized, like many who have sleep paralysis, she was also having hypnagogic hallucinations. That she was being attacked. It's not a serious condition, but can be very disturbing. Researchers believe sleep paralysis is caused by a disruptive rapid eye movement cycle, because it mostly happens as people are falling into or coming out of REM sleep, which is what Boyce just said. During that stage, their brains normally paralyze their muscles anyways, so they don't act out their dreams. But during sleep paralysis, the sleeper is awake or half awake, and so is aware they cannot move. That's terrible. Yeah, but it's true. Studies have shown that between 25% and 50% of Americans have had sleep paralysis at least once. Many who have it also have narcolepsy, in which they fall asleep uncontrollably. That has happened to us. But man, that's interesting.
I know in certain religions they call it like the demon inside of you. It's just you catching the demon inside of you. That's they try to add some sort of reasoning to it.
So I'm on like healthline.com, how people describe them. What is this demon that leaves you trapped in your body, unable to move or scream? It depends on who you ask. For some, it is a faceless, shapeless presence trying to suffocate them. Others describe it as a creepy old hag with claws. Some see an alien and experience what they believe is a full alien abduction. And for others, the demons look like a dead relative. Different cultures have different explanations for sleep paralysis. Demons, as Phil, you were describing. Canadian Inuit attribute the sleep paralysis to spells of shamans. Japanese folklore says it's a very vengeful spirit that suffocates its enemies in their sleep. In Brazilian folklore, the demon has a name. Pisadero.
It could be more like worse than that.
Portuguese for she who steps. She's a crone with long fingernails who lurks on the rooftops in the night and walks a chest of people who sleep on belly, full stomach.
See, I've had the alien abduction one. Was my first one. That was the first one that I've ever had.
By an alien.
And I
alien abduction. What?
It was when I first moved to my parents' place, and you've been to my parents' place before, Ferris. Like,
yeah.
It's on a plot of land, and we had just moved there. I don't even know if my parents know of this one, but I was sleeping in my room, and this was maybe a week, anywhere from a week to a month when we had first moved in, and I was always like creeped out of like walking outside because I think I saw Jeepers Creepers. Then when that little fucker just slam it down and grab me. But this night, I woke up, had it. Obviously, I couldn't move, and my window started illuminating, and just like a very bright light was coming into my window.
What?
And then my bedroom door is to the right, and your typical alien figure, I mean, the ones that they use in the movies, like that was a figure that was getting closer and closer to me and made noises. And then that's when I woke up. So that was the first one I've ever had. And I remember that one to an absolute T.
Do you think that was because of Jeepers Creepers you saw that night?
No, it wasn't. I didn't see Jeepers Creepers that night. I was just, so obviously when I woke up, checked myself, my all orifices were intact. I was not probed.
How much time had passed?
72 hours, oddly enough. Like I slept for 72 hours. That's weird.
That just happened.
But
no, I mean,
my passport was stamped. It was very odd.
Yeah, I never had anything like that one happen again for like aliens, but everything else has just been a hooded figure.
I want a UFO experience.
You did?
I want one.
Oh, you want?
I look up all the time wanting to see this shit. People say they see all the time. Oh, we see this. I want to see it. What were you going to say?
Is there a scary horror movie that had you scared to go to sleep or you dreamt about, but not as like a child, like as an adult?
I see a commercial, I'm afraid to go to sleep.
Most of
real, man.
Most of them for me involve pregnancy tests, but no. I don't, not in adult life, no.
Mari just inserts in stage right with a piece of paper in his hands.
God, there's so many.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not as an adult.
Oh, that for me, absolutely. The first Saw movie.
See, I don't watch those. That's why I don't have any.
Not a scary movie. That's a
the hell it's not.
That's
so
cool.
No, but that's actually that could happen. That's scary enough. That's not about some like demon coming like that's. So me and a buddy in college, we'd probably be in our first like year or two of college, or I don't know. We decided that we wanted to see it, and we actually drove over to what is Festival Bay, and the theater's changed a whole bunch now over the years. But we were sitting in the last row of theater, and the only people there, was like one of the last weeks the movie was in theater, so it might have been, I don't know, a year after the movie came out or something. I don't know, but there was parts of that movie where I jumped. I thought people behind me, and then I went home that night, and I had an image of that little ventriloquist clown that comes out on the bike in that movie, that jigsaw clown.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had a apartment in college that my bed, like my bathroom was in my room. So it was like your 4 single rooms with everybody had their own bathroom in their room, but my bed faced the entrance of the bathroom. I thought that little clown ventriloquist was coming out like of the bathroom at night, and I had a tough time going to sleep that night thinking that this little this little clown doll was coming out on a bike.
But it wasn't him that kidnapped. It was the pig, like the
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Master.
That was
puppet,
the conduit
like Chucky?
for the voice.
Don't scare me.
You sure about that?
Dude,
you want me to send you a picture of
a little? Nah. If I can kick it, I'm good. If I can kick
only
it, I'm
spooky
fine.
Anything that's real, like torture scenarios, is just gore to me. It's not. I don't watch it. It doesn't make me comfortable. But it's like gore versus like something that's haunted and spooky that could and does happen, but you can't explain for shit. I need to explain it. Like I said, you got to rationalize it and go through your checklist. Anytime I hear a noise at night, I'm all right. Do I need to go get my gun? Do I need to get up?
Mm-hmm.
And I go through my checklist, and it always comes down to why the would anyone want to break into my house? I don't have anything that's like, oh, we got to break into this dude's house.
You're telling me that thing's not terrifying.
What thing?
I just sent you guys in a text.
Well, this isn't going to read well for the people who are listening.
No, I understand that. That's why, Boyce, you have to know how to.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah,
terrifying.
If I can kick it, I'm fine.
Yeah. It looks like a crotchety old guy.
I'm
It's like one of the Statler and Waldorf, those two Muppets. Whoa, ho, 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 made into a puppet.
That thing's terrifying.
okay.
Terrifying.
And
Well, we kind of just made our own topic up on that one and started off with the opening tangent of being laid off and rolled into the topic of dreams and sleep paralysis and the paranormal.
Textbook podcast for you listening at home. If you want to take notes, episode 20, boom, textbook.
Professionals.
Textbook.
Professionals.
We're evolving. We are evolving. 20 episodes in.
I don't know if that's quite the circumstance. But you guys got anything else?
No.
As always, thank you so much for listening to the Laid Off Lads podcast. We are the Laid Off Lads. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, as well as look at our ugly mugs and see us being idiots on YouTube. Both the pod and the YouTube video get uploaded at the same time. Our schedule has been off. We apologize for that, but between various things, this is actually our second go at trying to record this episode. We did not like how the first episode 20 turned out. It was very bland and people were probably very, very bored. So we decided to go for round 2. We try to get that out once a week. We've been off. Apologize. We'll be better at that. But
this is our first PM podcast too.
no,
It
it's
is.
not. No, it's not.
Okay.
The one
Well,
where
you
Boyce
know
said
what?
that I looked chill and relaxed, where I was holding the mic that entire time that I sat in your bedroom and the other, which I don't think a lot of people knew, but I sat there and like,
That's because you smoked 2 blunts before, though.
yeah, sure.
No, I'm kidding. He's as
I
clean
do-
as they
I-
come.
I-
Everyone.
Anyone who knows him is like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
He is
That's
clean.
my
He
guy.
is single. He is good looking. Glenn Michael Ferris, everyone.
Damn.
Thank you for that.
You have an agent.
I have an agent.
Throwing out random advertisements here.
Talent
So.
booking.
Anyways,
Talent booking and casting. You want to see his talent?
if you want to go on a date, send us www.laidofflads.com. I'm kidding. But you can send us any topic ideas or any questions, comments, or concerns to laidofflads.com. You can see us on Instagram, Facebook. We'll get better at doing all of those things as we continue to go along. We would absolutely, we implore you to be involved in this pod and let us know and interact with us. We will have fun. We will mention you on the pod. We'll say your topics. We'll talk about your topics. But we want to be engaging. So hit us up on any of those.
Engaged.
And all of you out there, have fun with your ghost tonight.
Thanks for listening to the Laid Off Lads podcast. And if you're hiring, well, you know where to find us.